you know, it's so good to speak with you, and um, obviously you're here. We're here to talk about your upcoming matchup with Kid Bandit for Effy's Big Gay Brunch 7, September
Yes.
2nd, which is going to be
I,
a lot of fun.
oh yeah, I've been wanting to be on this show for so long. I'm like, hey Effie, think about me, think about me. So it's like when he texts me, he's like, hey, big gay brunch. I'm like, yes,
There you
finally.
go. And it's an interesting matchup with Kid Bandit, who we're going to talk about a little later on. That is a whole different style, which I'm not sure you're used to. So it's going to be an interesting matchup. But first, I'm so glad to speak with you because you've been going through a lot earlier this month,
um,
and
yeah, it's been challenging. Let's put it this way.
yeah, and for me, like one of the things that I hate to see is online bullying. And it was horrible to see what happened. And for fans that don't know or are not included in, earlier this month you did an interview with Fightful, Sean Ross Sapp, in which you talked about your experience with working at AEW for your 6-man tag match at I think AEW
Yeah, it
Dark
was Dark Elevation. Yeah.
Dark Elevation,
Hmm.
in which you were there initially to try to see about a coach position.
Yeah, that's what I had been offered, coaching position. So
Mm.
there was discussion about having maybe a match, but the reason why I traveled like close to 9 hours was because like it was that coaching job that was I was really interested in. Yes.
And what would happen is you would have the match,
Hmm.
you were really there for a coaching position. You had the match there. Didn't go as well as some people would have planned or hoped. Uh, a lot of a lot of miscommunication happened, and you didn't have get to talk to Tony Khan, who was there
Hmm.
to initially talk about. Um, there were a bunch of backstage situations happening with you that
Hmm.
I would say is unprofessional. Um, and there was also issue with payment as well. So there's a whole bunch of issues to make
Yeah,
a
it was a
separation.
very very long story for just one day. But yeah, you think some things gonna go as planned, and well, with wrestling, nothing goes as planned. Like if there's one thing that's for sure with wrestling, it will never go as planned. There's
Right.
always like something happening, but to the point where it's absolutely not what you expected.
Mhm.
That was like I was like, why did I come here at this point? Yeah, so and it's a situation where you're supposed to be excited, you're supposed to be like looking forward to it, and then you're there and you actually question yourself, what are you doing there, and do you really want to be here?
Right.
So that it's really like a slap in the face because you're all positive and you want something good to happen and you're like, I'm not sure this is for me.
And that sucks because
It sucks.
you
It
know what I'm
really
saying?
sucks. Like,
No
yeah,
one wants to go through that.
and you drive back home and you're like, oh man, what was that? Like, and all these questions, and then you question yourself and you question your whole wrestling career and your real career and you
Right.
like everything. Like it's I think way too much,
Right.
especially when I'm driving. Or when I'm doing cardio for some reason, that's where I come up with my wrestling ideas.
Right.
But yeah, you just driving and you think and you're like, I wanted to go home and bring some good news or at least something positive, and I'm
Right.
like, then you're questioning yourself, do I tell anyone about this
Right.
or because I told my boyfriend exactly how it happened, close friends, some of the workers, but it was never public because I was like, you still hope to have that chance, that job, that dream job. Because for me, being an agent is really a dream job.
Right.
I love working on matches, storylines. Making sure you tell a story within the match. I think
Mhm.
it building a match is it's so much more than moves, and that's what I like about it.
Right.
But yeah, so yeah, it was. really, really disappointing, and I didn't talk about it, and I wanted to stay positive. But at one point, you realize, like, no, nothing good really happened that day, and just look at yourself in the mirror and just it is what it is, and you stop lying to yourself, and you're like, and the more and more I was, as time went by, I was like, you know what, this is what happened really, and this, like, I to the point where not that I didn't care, because I don't like when wrestling doesn't look good. I've been wrestling for 26 years, and I'm part of that generation where we need to protect our business.
Exactly.
But there's a point where it's more than the business. It hurts human beings as regular human beings, not the wrestler. So I was like, yeah, you know what? F it. So I wouldn't, when I was doing podcasts or whatever, or interviews, I would say, like, you know what? The real story is that it didn't go well, and this. So. And then the sign happened, right. And I was like, I can't take it anymore, and blah, like, yeah.
And the crazy part about it is, just talk about the match real quick. It wasn't a bad match. Like,
no, it's not.
It's crazy because, like, I'll listen to your interview to prepare for this interview, and we talked about the match, and I go back and watch the match, and I'm like, well, there's nothing really you could have done. Like, you had very little time to do anything.
40 seconds or something. Like, a few fans counted, like, hey. Yeah. And what's funny is that when they announced that I was on Elevation, like, it was everywhere in all the wrestling news. Like, I've never seen so much coverage for Elevation.
Right.
But then I would, some people from within AEW would tell me, oh, that's not good because you're not supposed to. I'm like, sorry. I was like, I didn't, like, write to these people that, hey, I'm on TV or whatever. But, well, it was not even TV. It was YouTube.
It was YouTube,
so, yeah. So, anyway, yeah.
It's crazy because, like, you're talking about the match in your interview, and you talked about how, like, just go again. Watch the interview with Strong Staff. It was actually a really great interview.
It's long. I apologize.
It's long, but it was insightful. And you talked about how Dustin Reynolds, he wanted you to do a spot where you guys are fighting on the outside, which was not talked about before the match.
Well, it's more that he there's a spot where I was supposed to get. Well, I was going to get hit on the apron.
Yeah.
And he said, like, I should have gone down because I made the other girls look weak. I should have fell on outside. But then I was like, but I asked if I needed to stay there because the finish was coming on me. And I was told, yes, don't go down, stay there.
Right.
And what happened is that when I got hit, it felt like forever before they came and get me to go to the finish. So I was like, I was told to stay there, but I was like, when you're an extra, you're like, the only thing I asked them was like, what could I have done differently, sir? So I don't repeat it, but you don't argue with agents. You just listen. You're there to learn. And so I didn't want to go into, hey, by the way, I did what they said, blah, blah, blah. So why are you blaming me? I could not even do that anyway, because as soon as I went backstage and he was right there waiting for me, they all, like, everybody was gone besides me. So it is what it is. So, and yeah, I didn't want to get in an argument with him. You just don't do that. And anyway, that's where I kind of realized, like, yeah, I got fun. It's like, oh, yeah.
It was, by the way, like I said, it was not a bad match. I feel like he didn't really give much to even do, or even really even be presented in a way where you could kind of help the match at all.
Yeah, 6 women for like 4 minutes. You do what you can, and you follow whoever's there as extra. I mean, like, people were hired. I was the only one not signed in that match. So yeah.
And it was a situation also where it's like, this is back in 2022, and like some of the wrestlers in the match, they're like still trying to learn and get better. So it's like you're going against other women that are still learning. So like the match is not going to be a 5-star classic right away. It's you're in a developmental system for a reason.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't think they expect a 5-star match anyway on Dark. You know, it's really matches to put their talents over, which is fine. You know, it gives them ring time. They wrestle with different people, and I mean, it's good for learning. The more you wrestle, you know, the more bumps you take, the more different kind of people you wrestle, you're gonna learn and get better. So I mean, that's fine. It's the way it works, but I mean, it's just, I don't know. I got so much shit for 40 seconds that I didn't really plan. Actually, the only thing I asked is like, hey, I should pin after that clothesline, and I was told no.
Which would have made sense.
I was like, okay, so because I didn't want to, again, when you're an extra, you don't want to push your ideas too much.
Right.
You should not, because you're like the extra.
Right.
So once in a while, I would try to help do things, but I kept telling myself, "Shut the fuck up! Shut the fuck up!" Sorry, you'll beat that. Yeah, I can't help it. That's
fine. By the way, for anybody watching, I'm like I said, I'm sick. I'm currently like breaking a fever also. So if you see me sweating, that's kind of
my God. I was like, I was trying to find something bigger. All I have is Post-it.
So hopefully I got to tell. But you know, you had this experience, and you did the interview, and the backlash that came after that, which, you know, interviews sometimes you'll expect that. Sometimes.
Well, don't get me wrong. Like, I knew since I was talking against something, I knew there was going to be. I was expecting it. What really? I did not. Yeah, I was expecting fans to say like, "Oh, you're not wrong. What do you know?" It's always like, "You're just an indie wrestler." Like, I've heard that 100 times. Or, "Oh, she's old. She's just bitter." I'm like, someone who's in this business still loves it and still like teaches and goes out there every weekend and still wrestles and still love it. I mean, calling someone like that bitter is just because you have no other excuse. Because no, if I were that bitter, I would just complain and not enjoy myself in the ring, and I would not travel every weekend, and I would not like spend so much money on my gear or whatever. I love wrestling. What I don't like in wrestling is the I want to say politics, but it's more than that. It's when people are like, there's wrestling etiquette, but I think there's the human being etiquette as well. And when it's to the point where that one is not even respected, that's where it really bothers me. And I just can't help it. Like, I know I have a big mouth, and I'm usually quiet, and I will stay for a while, but then it builds up and then it just explodes. That's the way I am. I know it. I know it stopped me from getting jobs at a few places because, oh, she's a problem. She talks too much. In wrestling, it's unfortunately a business where people are so scared of losing their jobs that they won't say when something isn't right, and they will accept things that as a regular human being, you would not. Right. And the fear of losing your job, the fear of not being picked up by a bigger promotion. And maybe that's why I'm like so not afraid of talking anymore, because I don't really care about having a job. There was a time where like I felt if you don't get to that point, like, oh, you're a failure. And it was for the longest time. And looking back, I'm like, man, oh, was I terrible to just listen to whatever and miserable? And I'm like, but I'm not now, because the independents are so strong. You make a lot of money on the independents, and you have that freedom to say no, and that freedom to say, like, if you feel something is wrong, you just don't go, which you can't do when you have a contract. You have to follow the rules, and that's the way it works, and it's fine. But in the end, you're still like an independent contractor who's treated as an employee and have no freedom at all. So might as well be on the independence and enjoy everything it can bring you, and the joy and the traveling and doing it what you want and when you want.
Right. Right. And one of the things for me that I've just am amazed by you, and we're gonna talk about like I said later on with Kid Bandit, is just you are so active. Like you just had a match this past weekend, a tag team match.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen you this year have a match against Calvin Tankman, a
Yeah,
match
I
against
did.
Mickey Knuckles, I believe, at
Yeah.
a death match.
Mm-hmm.
You had a death match with Max the Impaler. Like you're just constantly working, and one of the issues I had, or I think a lot of people had, is just when you said you prepared for the fan reactions to it. I was surprised by a little bit. I was surprised by the talent of
Yeah,
AEW.
I was
Yeah,
going to say this is what I was not expecting. Them texting each other and get together, and then because why wouldn't people from a big promotion try to bring down just an indie lifer or
right,
a miserable person like they were saying? And it's like, okay, so why does it bother you so much that this person who's a nobody
right,
is telling about her experience? And by the way, that's not a thing that I built for a year. Then I said it's
right.
really because of that sign, and people constantly saying, "Oh, the women are not booked right." They never. But I'm like, no. You know what? Look at the women themselves and try to see what's the problem there.
Mm,
And that's why I got kind of tired of it. And then people are asking like, "Oh, who are you talking about?" And then when I say my story,
right,
then it's, "Oh no, I should have like just shut up." I'm like,
right,
and some of the interview was cut as well. But I mean, because it was so long, I was expecting like you and I are talking, we're
right.
discussing. That's what I was expecting. And then
Uh,
when I got to the interview, it's like, okay, what do you want to start, the interview or the backstage? I was like, I guess I'll start with the story. Like I was really expecting like some sort, and that was not it. Which that's one thing that really disappointed me because I didn't want to just talk for
right,
for 45 minutes. I was like, oh, I know it's too much. It's boring for me. So I can imagine everybody who sat down through this whole thing, but. Yeah, I'm like, here's my story, and then here's how it works backstage. There's that core top talent that controls everything,
mm,
and that's the way it works. Why you don't see so many of the girls on TV when they have what, like 60 women signed, or I don't know, like it's a ridiculous number.
it's a good
It's
number.
a good amount.
It's a
It's a
good
good
number.
amount.
Yeah,
Like yeah, and it's always the same. Well, ask yourself,
right.
and from being there, from other people who spoke to me, from people who are working there, and some of them that even trashed me online
Right.
told me about that. And I was like, okay, wow. Okay, I know you're getting good money, but you might be getting like really, really good money, or you don't want anyway. That was disappointing, and it was like I was like, man, really? And
Yeah.
like 5 minutes apart, whatever. It's like, and somebody confirmed, like they talked about it, and it's like people know me in that bunch,
Mm,
and they know that I'm very blunt and I speak my mind, and I
mm,
wouldn't go out there and lie for no reason. And no, I was not expecting like, oh, they're gonna give her a job from that. On the opposite,
mm,
but I mean, you want to know why it's not working? Here's the reason. And then after they were all frustrated, like, and I mean, talent and fans, that I would say that it's like, hey, you wanted to know, you got it, you got but it's not the answer you wanted, so
right.
I'm the bitch, and everybody else is like, anyway. But it really started when MJF wrote that piece where if somebody
Yeah.
doesn't sign, it's because they're miserable and they're not good enough. And I was like, wow, okay, you're going there. And after that, I got the death threats and that I was a nobody. I did nothing good for wrestling. And it's all people who didn't know anything about me. I would see people like, oh, she's just a garbage deathmatch wrestler. I did 5 deathmatch in the past 15 years.
Right.
And I was like, I've been to Japan, I've been to Mexico, I've been to Germany. I'm the first woman to ever enter the Cage of Death, the best of the best. I was the first woman in the 16 karat gold tournament in Germany.
Exactly.
Like there's a few things in, PWI or whatever. But I don't walk around, all like everywhere that like this is written over my face that this is what I did, but
Right.
they're talking without doing any research. And I'm sorry, it's not because you didn't go to one of the big promotions that you necessarily suck or you're a bad person. It's timing. Like my timing was really bad. I was born in a generation where it was the divas.
Right.
So I was too thick. I was too violent. I was wrestling the guys. Oh my God, domestic violence. It's not good for us. Like whatever the reason, there's many of them. And I'm outspoken. So that's one of my downfalls. I know for that. I know why I'm not signed. Right. But honestly, it's their loss because I'm good at what I do. I'm really patient. I love working with the new generation. And I know I could like bring so much to the promotions, but if you don't want someone who's going to get you out of your comfort zone and you don't want someone who's going to tell you the truth, and if your product sucks, that they're going to say, hey, it sucks. Change this, get rid of this. If you don't want to hear it, I'm definitely not a person you want to work with because I'm not going to sugarcoat things. So it is what it is.
It's crazy. I'm one of the things that I caught when you were speaking was that you kind of looked at it like I looked at it. I thought a lot of people also looked at it, was that it all seemed odd that it all came out at the exact same time. Like it was.
Oh yeah, it was planned. It was planned. Like there was like text and stuff sent. Like
see, but I wouldn't know that you would think that too. Because like I know from your angle, like there were people that were saying mean things and saying stuff to you, but there was also an audience of people on the internet as well that was like, yeah, this is all too familiar. Like people bring up the fact that a year ago or maybe 2 years ago at this point, a talent by the name of Big Swole,
yeah,
dealt with a similar situation where she said something about her experience in the company. And then after that, the Tony Khan, the president, says something directly towards her, talking about how she wasn't
good enough.
Yeah. And then led to a whole swarm of people bullying her. So it seemed like a pattern that we've kind of seen in this one in particular. It was too obvious that everything just came out at the exact same time.
Yeah, and just look right now what's going on. They're fighting backstage. The latest I've heard this morning is like they kind of something about CM Punk being like what's the word? But they kind of what's the word I'm looking for?
I don't know. You're talking about the recent report where there was an altercation between.
Yeah, there was an altercation.
Right.
And anyway, yeah, and they were expecting him to stay home,
right?
But they didn't tell him, and he didn't get an answer. And I was like, "Wow, that's familiar, like being ghosted and not getting answers." And that's your top talent. And now, like, yeah, they're fighting, and then it's all too familiar. There was the Thunder Rosa incident too.
Yeah.
It keeps repeating itself. There's a pattern. There's like people at the top that and they control everything, and they're Tony's friends. And man, he needs to wake up. But then, if you don't want to,
right? And again, this is not to say that everybody or everything in AEW is bad. Right?
Oh, definitely not. There's a lot of talent there. There's a lot of knowledge. You think about Arn Anderson, Dean Malenko, Jerry Lynn. You got Chris Heroes now there, Christopher Daniels. So many names. JR, people like Mark Henry. I can keep going and going. So many people you can go to. Yeah, and you can go to and get like, knowledge and share stuff, and you can learn from them. And it's not because Mark Henry's not the same size as you that he can't teach you how to build a good story within your match, and how to work the crowd, how to pause and absorb what's going on. It doesn't matter if you're more of a high flying kind of guy. Mark Henry has another kind of experience that he can share with you, and you can put into your match.
Right.
And it's like they don't use so much like knowledge that's not listened to, not asked, not I don't know. But it's crazy. There's so much talent and knowledge in that promotion, and yet um, you see the same thing. You see the same moves match after match after match. Or there's great agents, but is the talent listening to them, or do they talk to each other? I wouldn't know, but you can see it watching the show. Like you. Right.
It's also a crazy thing. Like I said, you're seeing more backstage stuff kind of leak out and kind of show itself on camera. We've seen at All In, and even just like what we do know. So like when you have people saying the locker room is great, there's no issues in the women's locker room, but yet we've seen issues where Thunder Rosa visibly on public display has been bullied. Where
there's so many things that are like, no, I mean, if you want to deny it instead of fixing it, fine, but it's not gonna. You're still gonna have people say, "Hey, women's wrestling sucks," or "That's the P match," and "Oh, that match was terrible." Well, of course, you're going like this. You have your spot. You don't want to work on making it better. You pretend everything is fine, then go ahead, and it's not gonna get better.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
After the situation happened with you online, this is a little side note, but one of the things I noticed was it felt like the next week or the week of on Dynamite, I believe it was, the women were in the main event. After you came out and talked about your experience and your thoughts on women's division.
I think they were on the main event the week before too. I'm not sure because I follow all the wrestling news, but I don't watch all the shows because I just can't keep up. But definitely.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was definitely I think it was Sheeta versus
Anna Jay.
Bunny. Or was it
Anna Jay? Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So we get that match, and again the timing of everything just feels a little odd. Where I want to get your thoughts on it. Do you feel like everything that came after that is an answer? Like, okay, we did what we're all representing the women. We are doing something with them.
Yeah, but you still gave them 7 minutes, and there wasn't much to the match. Not that the girls did not work hard, but I mean storyline wise, importance wise, did they build Anna Jay to get that championship? Did they build her good enough so when she comes in, she looks like a threat to the championship?
Right.
Or they mentioned a few things about winning matches on the new dark Ring of Honor or something else, or Rampage. But it's not an actual storyline where Anna Jay is actually pursuing the champion.
Right.
And then, online you would suddenly see pictures of backstage of the girls having fun. Always the same people. The same ones that answered. The other girls were nowhere to be found. Or they would just put likes on things. But, it's, hey, fool yourself.
And like I said, the thing that sucks for me was seeing everybody just pick on you and just attack you, where wrestlers are attacking you. And it's weird for me. I always think it's weird. I always think it's weird when the athletes are going against each other and not the system that's in place that's putting them in this way.
They want to keep the job or they want to get the job. They don't care. It's a very selfish environment. And not everybody's really selfish or whatever, but you kind of have to if you want to make it, and you gotta shut up. You can't talk when something is wrong. You can't say out loud what a lot of people are saying, just between them. I did, which was the problem. Because it's my story, but it's the story of many women and men who were in that backstage. And for those who are going oh, she's been there a day, she doesn't know anything. I'm sorry. When you've been in the wrestling business for 26 years and you've seen so many backstages, you don't need more than a few hours to, just stay on the wall and watch, and you
Right.
just and it was so obvious. It was like ridiculous. It was like, okay, these guys are talking shit about these guys are right there, and then it goes like you could clearly see it, and it was like, okay, I'm in high school.
Right.
Yeah, it's the saying, the inmates are running the asylum, pretty much like running and talking shit, and but you have those few people who are cool and just happy to be there and quiet, and but the one, the yeah, it's
also
unfortunate. It's
yeah.
unfortunate. Yeah.
Yeah, and the thing for me after that, and after all the abuse, I would say, the cyberbullying and everything that you've gone through because of that, led to a situation where you're getting messages, getting death threats, and I was uncomfortable, and I was hurt for you because you were getting all this flack for just sharing your experience. Just experience that you dealt with. You're not saying anything towards how it's how you think this person is or that person is. You're saying your experience, what you went through, and to get death threats. It was a point in that you did a tweet, a thread where you talked about how people were saying that you shouldn't be here anymore.
Oh yeah, it was like, it just disappear.
Yeah.
Why don't you jump over a bridge?
That hurt me.
And I was like, wow, like seriously. And it's all people who don't even know me.
Right.
It's like everybody did podcast about the situation, and some guys like, because after I replied to MJF, because he was like, everything he said against me, he kind of tried to he did the opposite for Cash. Like, oh, how can you judge him right away? Blah blah blah. So I wrote like it was a long piece. It's like, and people were like, oh, it's an essay. Like, who do you think she is? I'm like, oh, okay, you're too dumb to read 2 freaking pages. And it's like, no, I was just going point by point where you're like, here's what you're saying now, but here's what you did to me. Do you see, like, and other like people like were like on podcasts like, oh my God, she must be so upset that he's not answering. Like, did you really think he would be? Like, no, but I wanted to show, like, here's fucking hypocrite. Goes one way for someone who he barely knows.
Right.
And then he's defending someone who he knows, and for sure it's his friend, and I understand and everything. But you can't be like both. Like you can't do like total opposite. Like, especially for someone who you never sat down and would never talk to. The only thing I said to him is, what I think we did 2 shows together. And it was like, hi, how are you? Nice to see you again. Nice to meet you, whatever. And that was it. It's like, okay, but I'm a failure, and I'm a piece of shit, and I'm a liar. No, you're lying to yourself, because if you sit down and you look, you'll see the same freaking thing I did. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's weird. It's also a thing like you pointed out, where it's like MJF will say something towards you, but then with Cash, it's, hey, let's give everybody a chance. Renee would say the locker room is the best it's been.
But her own husband saying the backstage is a huge problem.
We are like in sync here, because like I'm like the thing I'm thinking about.
I know, yeah.
Like, and even just like the Thunder Rosa thing, where Thunder Rosa, she gets, it's people speculating, is she really hurt? Is she? But yet you'll say, hey, let's not.
She's not even running her own promotion. Is she hurt? What do you think?
Which is Rebecca, and then but also on the same side say, hey, let's not bully each other online. It's very hypocritical.
Yeah, but let's do it to the indie girl. And a lot of people are like, I didn't know you before this. Well, that's because of them, because I just said my piece, and then they all went and they attacked me. And then you know me, and I've got like few new fans because of it. It's like, well, we didn't know you, and we went to see your matches, and hey, you're actually pretty good. Like, and I have new fans, so that's a good thing that came. I gotta look at the positive, because there was so much negative.
You're also a Hall of Famer. Like, I think that gets lost in everything. It's like,
well, it's just an indie Hall of Famer. It doesn't matter.
People get lost on like what you have done for wrestling. Period. like what you've been doing over the years, whether it be your time at CZW, whether it be what you're doing now. Like you're constantly working with talent that you see over the years, and you were doing wrestling and doing certain things like death matches and doing Indian wrestling, which at a time it's not looked upon the greatest.
Oh
Like,
my God, no! Like being the only girl, like no. Like today, it makes me laugh because people are like, "Oh, women doing that, it's so revolutionary." And back then, it's like, "Oh man, women, disgusting, blood."
right,
It's like it was just like it was so the opposite. But it started in the indies, the shitty indies that they all like, were talking shit about. That's where everything started. So it's not on TV. They took ideas and stuff that happened on the independents and then
right,
they brought it to TV, which is awesome. Don't get me wrong. I
right.
love that women are pushing their limits on TV, that they do new things, and that it's always been about pushing women's wrestling so it's better, so it's bigger, so it's more important. But yeah, you got to get out of your comfort zone, and sometimes you got to say, well, you're a problem, get the F out. But they won't. It's all like a friend kind of click thing, and it's going to stay the way it is. It's going to stay the way it is until the moment where maybe Tony's going to say, like, or his father's going to say, you're losing enough money. But he's not now. I mean, it's not everything they do is wrong. It's they're giving jobs to a lot of people who did not have jobs. I'm thinking Here Fox, which I love. And I'm Willow, and so many other people there.
Mercedes.
But Mercedes. Yeah, she's like my wrestling soulmate. I love Mercedes. But yeah, just here's a few names. Serena Deeb, she's so good. I'm like, how come there's not much like Mercedes and Serena? They should be on TV all the time. And my God, there's tons of other names like that could be like. I feel like Chris Statlander just won the championship and we barely see her.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is what it is. But yeah, she should have more time now, especially since she has the title.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know what else to say, man.
I just hope that at some point that people will look at the bigger picture and say, okay, what you're saying is not wrong at all, and maybe we should probably unite together as a group, as wrestlers, and get amongst each other to demand more for women's wrestling, to demand more, better backstage environments for wrestlers. Like those are things that I feel like wrestlers, it's almost like a tribalism between wrestlers, where like they're go so hard for whoever they work for, but not for themselves.
And it's not like that everywhere. Like there's a lot of locker rooms I go to, and it's crazy, but a deathmatch company, like I'm thinking ICW or GCW. Like we all like, we're backstage and we chill, and somebody's injured, like we take care of each other. And I mean, there's great locker rooms out there. So yeah.
But we'll get back to you. It's just that whole situation with you and the cyberbullying. It got to a point where people were sending you death threats, and you went off Twitter for a little bit.
Oh yeah, I had I couldn't go without like a day without being insulted like 24/7. And I turn off my phone during the day when I'm at work, and after I would go out and turn it on. It was just that, like, piece of shit, failure, bitter, jump over the bridge. I hope you disappear. I hope we never see you again. Okay, like nonstop. So I was like, that's why I'm like, fuck it. I just like, I deactivated the account, and some people tried to go in my account, so I would get like messages like somebody tried to go in your account from New York, whatever. And that's why I'm like, oh man, I'm like, fuck it. So I went back because I was like, I kept getting messages of people trying to get into my account. I was like, really? I'm like, wow. Okay.
That's so crazy. Because for me, like when you did that, when you deactivated your account, like the last thing I seen from you was the fact that people were telling you to kill yourself.
Yep.
And for me, like I said, that was heartbreaking for me because here's somebody that's getting cyberbullied and getting pressured to the point where people are telling them to kill themselves. When you deactivate your Twitter, I don't know what's going through your mind. So mentally, I was worried for you because I didn't know how you was handling the whole situation.
And what was crazy is some of those people, they had like an Anna Kimura picture on their account. I'm like, do you know what happened to her? What you're doing right now? What you're doing right now, that's what happened to her. And I was like, wow, okay. It says, oh, you're just playing victim. I'm like, you're telling me to kill myself. I'm not like,
right.
like, and you're sending me like hate messages and reply to tweets or whatever. And it's like, wow, okay. It was to a point where I was like, I think when I deactivated, I posted something on my my Instagram. And I mentioned like how when a girl gets raped, everybody's like, not everybody, but some stupid asshole's gonna go like, oh well, she was looking for it, she had revealing clothes. Or if like a stripper is getting raped,
right.
Oh, she was looking for it. I'm sorry, no, she was just doing her job, and her job is not to get raped. And people are like, oh my god, look at her, she's trying to be a victim. I'm like, no, what I'm trying to say here is like, I was expecting like repercussion of whatever I was saying. However, the death threats, and now you're telling me that I deserve this, the death threats, and that I deserve to be bullied and everything. Like, oh, you knew it was going to happen. You worked for it, blah, blah, blah. That's why it was like, I'm not comparing myself like to a rape. It's just the context of, it's going to be this, but to the point where it goes to death threats and being harassed 24/7. And some one or two guys, they went on all my YouTube matches, tell me I suck every match, not even watching the match. It was one after another where I had to go delete. At one point, I was like thinking about closing my YouTube account. I was like, the hell, I put one more match, and then I put another match. And I should put another one tonight, damn it.
But see, that's the thing for me, is just like when you came back on Twitter, that was like that for me, that was a breath of fresh air, because I'm like, okay, thankfully she's back. Thankfully everything she's doing. Because again, I was worried for you because I didn't know how you doing mentally.
My boyfriend was really worried too. Because I've been really open about it. I suffer from chronic depression, and I'm also I do have severe ADHD. But it's something I control. Something like I have a doctor, I have my medication. It's something I have to live with, and I do what I have to do to live a comfortable life with the illness. But the thing is, like, he was really scared because he knows my condition. And even him was getting bullied, like, oh, why'd you say that, blah blah blah, like, really? Oh yeah, he got bullied too because he wrote something like, I don't want to lose her, because he knows me and he knows my condition and he knows what I went through in life, that some of the things people don't know about me, about my youth or whatever. And yeah, he was getting bullied too. And it's ridiculous. Like, all these people who don't know me, who scream, oh, mental health matters, don't bully people. But then as soon as somebody says something against something that and it was not even against it, these were facts. Here's what happened. This. You might not like it, but that happened. That's my experience. And I'm telling you, with 26 years of experience in different locker rooms, that if you want things to change, they would have to move everything and even like start from scratch. Because what they have right now, it's not going to work. You didn't like what I said. It was not what you expected, or whatever the reason. And then you go and you do everything that's your preaching against. I'm
Right.
like, sorry, I have my own problems, and I know I'm not everyone's cup of tea. And I even annoy myself sometimes. I annoy my mom. I annoy my boyfriend. I'm definitely not perfect, but I nobody deserves that for
No.
any reason. We can argue that, we can even discuss.
Right.
We're people. We can talk.
Right.
But no, it was just like this, and not even researching what I did, who I am as a person behind the wrestler.
Right.
So I think at one point I said, you know what, you're too lazy to do your own work, so to actually read anything about me, and you just go with whatever MJF said or whatever. You know what? Fuck you.
Right.
You don't. I'm not gonna waste time with a lazy ass person like you. And then I see you going mental health matters. I'm like, no. You know what? You're just an hypocrite. I won't lose my mind with you. You know what? Brock Lesnar has the what's the suplex repeat?
It's like it was like I think it was like wake up, suplex, repeat, or something like that.
Oh, whatever. No,
Whatever it is, whatever.
Yeah. So for me, it became um, report, block, delete. It's like report, block, delete. And I wish I knew. Like I have that Brock T-shirt, and I can't remember.
I think it's
Repeats,
like
yeah.
this.
It was like report, block, delete, repeat.
Repeat.
These were my days. Like I've blocked so many people,
Right.
deleted or mute. Also, like report, mute, block,
Right.
repeat. That. Yeah, so I was like, no, I don't care. Not worth my time. Okay, you didn't read whatever I wrote, and I'm a piece of shit. Delete, mute, bye. Like you can't.
The best option for Twitter.
You're not man enough to have a discussion. Actually, look before you talk. Look what you're talking about.
Right.
Not worth my time. Mm.
There's something that hit home for me, what you just said there, is when you talked about having chronic depression, right? And I have chronic depression as well. I also have it. My
I'm
family
sorry.
has.
It's not easy
It's
to deal with, right?
it's just the life you dealt with, and sometimes it hits you good for the
You
bad.
do your best. Yeah.
Right. And like now knowing what chronic depression is and how that affects you, and sometimes it'll just hit you like a rock, and you won't even know it's coming, and it just you're just stuck in a place
out of nowhere. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like an RKO.
Right. And take that information, fans. I hope that you're listening, and now deal with. Now you're getting death threats. And now you're dealing with people saying you're not good enough. People saying that your peers, your wrestling peers, your wrestling family saying that you're not good enough, that you could never make it, and just dealing with all of that, and now having that issue of chronic depression where you get depressed out of nowhere just because. Mm-hmm. Now you have a situation where it just keep hammering over you, where you're getting messages after messages after messages. That is a tough thing to deal with, and I'm inspired by you for being able to get through it.
I mean, it's not fun, and that's why I had enough, and I deactivated the account. I just couldn't take it anymore. I'm like, if I want to take care of myself, I mean, I've worked a lot, especially in the past 2 years. I would say I've learned. That's why I feel like more confident now that I'm going to say what I think, because I don't want to bottle up anything.
Right.
And I was like, this is not good for me right now. So just go away. Go away, and you'll see how you feel in a few days, a few weeks. And, take it day by day. But yeah, it got really heavy. Yeah. Really heavy. And I actually called my doctor. I was like, I really need to see you. Things were not good. So, and he was repeating to me, like, you know the truth. You know what you saw. Tell yourself that. He's like, when you went online, did you lie? I'm like, nope. It's the same thing I told my friends a year ago, and then I just told the same exact story. He's like, well, they don't matter then. Mm-hmm. I'm like, okay, sir.
Mm-hmm. I'm proud of you. I'm super proud of you. This is not something I forgot. I'm super proud of you for not only being able to deal with that and the amount of just I can imagine what you were going through. Because like I said, I go through it as well. But the fact that you went to a doctor and was able to talk about it and able to have a conversation, like there are people that aren't able to do that. That kind of dealt in your situation and in your shoes. That hits a whole lot differently. We'll have a whole different type of conversation.
Mm-hmm.
But thankfully, you was able to have that conversation, and hopefully, people that listen to this will be inspired by what you do and say, I can do the same thing. I could talk to somebody and get help, especially during times like this, which is unfortunate. Where chronic depression is something that hits you regardless, and the amount of pressure
Yeah,
that goes under,
you'll
I
be
can't even imagine.
okay. And
Yeah,
let's say if there's a day I forget my medication,
right,
I get tired, and then I get confused, and I'm like, I don't feel good. I'm not well. You
right.
just feel it, and then I know it's like
Yeah,
I didn't take my medication. So I bought like that little pill thing where the days are on
yeah,
it. So I was like doing my best so I don't forget. And when I go to wrestling, I bring more if I lose some or whatever. Like I'm really, really on it because I know that without them, it's yeah,
it's tough. It's tough.
it's tough. It can get like really bad.
Yeah, and shout to your boyfriend as well for looking out for you. He's good.
Yeah,
Good guy.
he's man. He is. He's such a good guy. I always say like he saved my life, more often than he probably knows. Like, yeah, I do have a very good man, and he puts up with my shit. And it's like it's crazy because he himself, like at one point, was crying. He's like, I don't like that they're saying that about you. I know you, and that's not how you are.
Right,
You always want to do good. You always want to help. Like every time you have a match with somebody new, they're always happy. And there's so many people who want to work you. And
right.
it's like now everybody's trying to discredit everything you did. You went to court for women's wrestling.
Right.
You got beat up so women could wrestle the guys. He's known me. Like we've been together for 4 years, but he's known me for over 20, 25 years now. So he's seen everything. So he knows. And yeah, he's like, I can't take what they're saying because it's not true.
Right.
I'm like, don't go. Like, don't look at it. And I did the same. And yeah, he's my rock. Him and my cats.
He's a real one. He's a real one for sure.
He's a keeper. He's a keeper.
And like I said, luckily this situation that could have turned bad for different people or different situations is not. And we're talking to each other today and having this conversation, this great conversation where we kind of look back on how things turned out and we could talk about the future.
Yeah, you got to look forward. I mean, I know forever people are going to talk about it to me. Like every time I go backstage, like just past weekend, it's like, I just want to tell you, them going against you, like it was bullshit. I'm like, so everybody like tells me something. I'm like, well, you know what? Thank you. That feels good to know that I have some of my peers who saw the same thing and they know. And some people have known me for years. So it's like, yeah, we know you just don't go out there and lie for whatever. And it's when you're really sick and tired of something, then you just explode. I'm like, yeah, that's pretty much it. I know.
Did anybody from AEW at all afterwards of what happened? Did they come out to you and say anything to you? And
yeah, there's of course I don't say a name because I don't want them to lose their job. But I got someone who sent me a message like, "Hey, just want to say I'm really proud of you for standing up."
That's awesome.
Yep.
That's awesome. And what's also awesome is you came back recently, had a match, Winnipeg Pro Wrestling, in a tag team match with, I have the name here, Tyler,
and against Jody Threat and
Bobby Shit.
Yes, it was fun.
And which you won.
I did. I pinned the champion. Oh yeah.
And what was it like for you being back in an environment, back in a wrestling ring, back to doing what you love, having dealt with everything you went through early in the month, now back in the ring after everything and with fans.
It's funny that you asked this question because Jody Thread asked me the same thing. She's like, "Are you okay?" Whatever. And after the match, I went to my merch table, and so many people were telling me, like, "Oh my God, we didn't know about you. You're so good. Oh, you're
That's
the best
awesome.
female wrestler I've ever seen. It was so entertaining. Are you coming back?" I'm like, "Well, that's quite different from being a nobody and a piece of shit." I was like, "That feels good." And they're like, "Please come back." And oh my God, you were so funny. And I mean, it's not a match where I landed on my head or whatever, but
Right.
when I'm a heel, I just like I'm having so much fun. I rip people's signs and like I shake my booty and I'm like boo. I go in front of them and then we argue and it's like it's really a party for me when I'm heel. I love it. And so many fans like they came like, "Oh my God, you're so good. Thank you. We had so much fun. And by the way, boo." So yeah, and even people like online mentioned like how much they loved it. And I was like, well, it's quite different from the past two or
Right.
3 weeks, however long it's been. I think actually today might be the first day that there was no insult at all, but I see a lot of LuFisto was right.
I
I've
did see it
seen a
too.
lot of, I've
I
seen
did see it too.
I'm like, yep, sorry,
Just gonna sit
not
and see.
sorry.
Ah man.
Sip the coffee. It's cold, but it's still good. So
But I'm glad that you're back. I'm glad that you overcame what you overcame, which again is not easy to do. And what brings us, which is a part of the story now for you, is now you're back in wrestling. You're doing what you love. You're going against what people are saying about you, and it brings us to this weekend where you're September 2nd, September 2nd, you're going to be facing Kid Bandit
yes.
at Effy's Big Gay Brunch. Oh, we talked about it earlier, but what's it mean for you to be a part of this event?
It's like I said before, like I've always wanted to be part of this event because I've always felt really connected to the LGBTQ community because I love their artists. They're like very blunt people.
Right.
They say what's on their mind. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's assholes in every community,
Right.
but in general, like I always get along with them. They have that. I can't even describe it, but I mean, just to give you like I love RuPaul and the way he spreads the words of acceptance, and it's not only like a LGBTQ thing. It could be a thing about racism, whatever. The
Right.
fact that communities can work together, even if we're different,
Right.
even if I'm not in the community, I'm an ally and I want to be there for them. And I have friends who are trans, and I know through them how hard it is to be stuck in your body and just wanting to be you, because you know, as I people from outside of it, uh we do kind of, I wouldn't say feel, we can feel similar. You know how you're like you don't love yourself because you feel stuck, and for them it's like 10,000 times
Right.
worse. And a lot of them at the beginning, they don't know why they don't feel right, and then suddenly it happens like I'm a girl trapped in a man's body and I'm
Right.
choking, and I think it's so brave that you stand up for yourself and you say, I will be myself and I will, live my life the way I want to, and I will dress the way, and I will love who I want. And it's not even, they're born this way. I hate when people say like, it was a thing back in the day where people thought it was like a disease, and still people think it's a disease today. I'm like, no, it's like, so yeah, I really want to be there for them. And so for me, yeah, to be there, it's I can celebrate life with them. I can celebrate us being all different,
Right.
all being humans, and yeah, I'm so looking forward to this. I love Effy.
Right.
I love him. I love Pero. I like it. Oh, great people, funny people. Like
Right.
yeah. I'm so excited.
There's also a kind of a milestone almost for Effy also in his event, because usually with Effy's Big Gay Brunch, it's usually around like WrestleMania, like around that time, we're gonna do like a big collective of events with GCW. It's one of the rare times where like Effy's actually doing a show, his own show, like in a different time, and I think this is the second time this year that he's doing it. So this is just the growth also.
Yeah, it's growing. It's growing. It's getting like, I feel like there's more eyes on it now.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I mean, he's doing good, and it brings. It's a beautiful message to the youth, where it's okay to be yourself and join the party and come celebrate with us and see us like kicking ass and getting our ass kicked. And yeah, I mean, I've never been there before, but now it's happening. I'm part of this, so yeah, I'm so looking forward to this.
Same as I, and I will say you are in for a challenge a little bit here. Like, you're facing Kid Bandit, who I think is super tough, and also creative too. Like, Kid Bandit will I've seen Kid Bandit like do moves online and say, "Hey, should I start putting this into my moveset now?" Like, that's why not? Like, have you been watching some of Kid Bandit's matches to prepare for this?
I did, and I was actually watching Kid before. Okay. And what I love is that Kid reminds me of my old anime self. It's almost like looking in some sort of mirror, a younger one, a younger mirror. But yeah, it's almost like a blast from the past. The very anime-ish, colorful, the dresses. It's so like what I used to wear.
Right.
So now I'm going to be facing, that almost like the past,
right?
But in the present, and a lot more, high flyer than I was. But the funny thing is that I remember when Effy asked me, in the back of my mind, I was like, I hope I'm wrestling Bandit. I hope I'm wrestling Bandit. So when I saw, I was like, yes! I was so happy. I was like, I just feel it's, I don't know. Like I said, the anime thing, I think we can relate. We have that thing in common, and I just feel it's gonna work. It feels right.
Like, she is very different in type and unique in the ring, where some of the things, like I said, it's being made up. It's like on the fly, and you kind of have to be prepared for it a little bit. And your style and her style, it's going to be a very exciting matchup, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I think the styles are going to clash, but in a good way.
Right.
And she'll be ready to fly because I'm going to throw her everywhere. And I actually have, I wouldn't say a surprise.
Okay.
I'm not going out as, fully LuFisto. I will be definitely paying tribute to one of my gay icons.
Nice.
Yes, I'm working on my gear right now.
Nice. That matchup's going to be sick. I know it. Again, say what? It may be a difficult matchup for you. I'm not going to lie. Bandit is.
I don't take any of my opponents lightly. There's always surprises. You never know what's going to happen. But like I said, it's an important event, and I want people to join us. If you're part of the LGBTQ, if you're like me, an ally, come and celebrate and have fun. And I don't know if there's alcohol, but if there's alcohol, I'm coming. It's early though. It's noon somewhere, so come. It's gonna be noon anyway, so I think doesn't the show start around like
1 o'clock?
You're fine. Yeah, 1 o'clock. So come drink and have fun and enjoy it with us. Like it's I can't say it enough that how much I'm looking forward to this.
Me too. And outside of your match, is there a match on the card that you're like looking at like I can't wait to see that backstage and to see how it plays out?
Trying to think. I would say there's wrestlers I really like. I like Sawyer Wreck.
I was gonna say Sawyer Wreck and Billy Dixon is a match.
Yeah, this one I'm looking for.
Yeah.
This one I'll probably. If you see this, that's me in the curtain. I'm like, I hope I'm gonna be before so I can go and watch it.
Right.
Yeah, that would be one. Yeah.
Yeah, like your match, that's also a match where I don't know how that's gonna go. It's a very clash of styles where it's gonna be unique to see. It's that's why I love it. Just the different styles that we're gonna see at Effy's Big Gay Brunch, September 2nd. It's gonna be worth the price to watch.
Oh, definitely. And if you can't be there, I think it's gonna be on Fight if I'm not mistaken. So support and get the pay-per-view.
For sure. Fight TV. If you're a Fight Plus member,
Fight Plus, yeah,
which is $7.99, which is not, it's not that
cheap,
not that bad. You get the GCW library, a bunch of other wrestling shows, but at Big Gay Brunch, you can see that live. And like I said, your matchup with Kid Bandit, that is a matchup I'm very intrigued by because your style, her style, it's a clash.
Oh yeah,
it's gonna be exciting. It's gonna be exciting.
I think so. I'm really excited about it.
And you said a little surprise there. Give a little tease there, so I'm interested to see what you come out like.
Yeah, just a little tribute, a little something.
It's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be awesome. Great event. And like I said, Effy's Big Gay Brunch has grown from we're doing this, once around WrestleMania season with a bunch of other GCW shows to now we're broadening it out and now we're doing it in September.
Oh, yes.
So hopefully it'll just mean more Effy Big Gay Brunches to come on throughout the year.
Gotta bring the Big Gay Brunch in Montreal.
Hey,
huge community. I'm sure they would love it.
Definitely. Will be a lot of fun to see. Before I let you go, I wanted to ask some fun questions. Okay?
Oh, sure.
So one of the questions I wanted to ask you is, you were the CZW Iron Man champion, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes,
and
correct.
I remember listening to a story where Kevin Owens, who went by Kevin Steen at the time, he talked about how he pitched the idea for you to win the title.
Yes, he did.
Do you remember how that went about? Like how that whole pitch came about?
I didn't know exactly, but I know Zendig was looking for someone else, and Kevin's like, "What about her?" Mm-hmm. And he didn't think he would go for it, but he's like, "Oh yeah." So it was like, it kind of started as a joke, but for me, it was a big deal because after that, I think that's when people really realized that I was very serious about it. Right. And I've always had a great relationship with John Zendig since. Because he believed in me more than I did. And it all started, from a joke from Kevin. And I've been grateful because, I mean, if he doesn't say, what about her? Probably he doesn't even think about it. So, yeah, all true.
And I went back and watched the match. That was a chaotic match.
Oh, my God.
That was super chaotic.
It was like chairs swinging everywhere and like, 3 teams. It's
like 3 teams.
It's a mess.
Of like 4 or something like that. It's like
and anybody can pin Steen for his belt, even his own partners. I was like, okay. It
was a crazy concept, but like the finish of the match. Anybody that watches on YouTube as well. You kick them in the balls, and you go for the pin.
Then I did a jackknife pin, and I sat right on top of it. 1, 2, 3.
And then after the match, the action is still not over. People are fighting amongst each other.
Yeah, because everybody the team needed the win, but if Steen was getting pinned,
right,
he would lose his championship. But I wasn't his own team,
right?
So we kept going, and I think Nick Gage gave me a pile driver or something, and then Eddie Kingston kind of saved me, something like that. Yeah.
And you were willing to hold the title for a pretty long time, too.
Until, unfortunately, I got injured. I had a back injury, and I had to forfeit, but technically, I never lost it.
There you go. See. Another question I wanted to ask you. What is your favorite snack or meal to eat after a match?
Oh, after a match, it's not really a snack, but I love if you bring me like a diet soda or like a Sprite Zero. It's like a Sprite Zero or a Coke Zero, something. I need my pop after the match, and I love Swedish Fish. I love Swedish Fish. If you feel like bringing me bags of Swedish Fish,
LuFisto, me and you got so much in common.
It's the fish.
We got so much in common.
Like they're really hard. There's none in Canada.
Really?
You can get like the Swedish Fish at like specialty like candy stores.
Right.
But usually like there's no Swedish Fish. So when I go to the States, I'm like,
Oh my gosh.
And I know like there's like 20. Is it 25
like
pounds or 15?
Yeah,
it's like huge. I'm like, oh God.
It's a guilty pleasure.
It is. Besides that, coffee. You know, I love my Starbucks here and there. Basic bitch needs her pumpkin spice these days. Oh yeah, they're already out. Yeah. When I went to Winnipeg, I go. There's a Starbucks like pumpkin spice already. It's August.
Yeah.
Pumpkin spice.
I love that we combined over Swedish Fish and pumpkin spice last night. What is your favorite? What is one of your favorite movies to watch?
Coming to America.
Ooh. Okay.
Oh, it's my favorite movie of all time. Love Eddie Murphy and that. It's like, fuck you, hi, my neighbors, fuck you too. I was like, I've watched this movie since it came out, and right. I have to watch it like once in a while because I just love it so much. Right.
I wish Coming to America 2 was better than
it started okay, and then it was like, but I mean, I have Prime, so I didn't pay for it, so I was not upset. Yeah. I saw Akeem again, so I was like, okay.
I don't know if we'll see another one, but I'll always have Coming to America 1.
Oh yeah.
One of the things I'm always interested in, I always wanted to ask is, you've competed in death matches before. Mm-hmm. What is the mindset? Like, what's the mindset you go into before having a match like that? Because, you know, it's a wild match sometimes. It can get a little bit physical. Mentally, how do you prepare for that?
I always went out there not thinking too much. Mm-hmm. For the simple fact that I had the opportunity to meet Mick Foley quite early in my career. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't too long after he did that jump from top of the cage with The Undertaker. Mm-hmm. And one question I asked him is like, how do you do it? He's like, don't think, just do. Mm. And I've always had this mentality of don't think too much, because if you think, that's where you're going to, you know, kind of stop and you might get injured. Just go through the motion, go through it. You just do it. So I think I just applied what he told me back then. And I always go with the same thing, the same idea. The thing that's different now, I've always like built up my matches, even for death matches, like regular matches. But I feel now I'm more aware of telling a story through a death match. Even if it's gory or it has blood or whatever, there still needs to be a story. A heel, a face, come back. It needs to be built the same way. It needs to make sense. And there's need to be selling. Mm. That drives me insane when people are breaking things over the head and they're not selling. Right. Why would I care about you if you don't feel the pain? Right. If it's your gimmick, it works. But when it's everybody, I lose interest. So for me, I really make sure that they feel what I'm going through, the pain, the anger, fighting back and having that fighting spirit. So I think I'm smarter with my death matches than I am today. than I used to be. I watched some of my old stuff. I was like, oh Lord, I didn't sell enough there, this and that. Like, but yeah, I feel my matches are better now, even if when it comes to death matches, because I'm more smart about it. I'm building it the right way.
I would say I recently watched your death match with Mickey Knuckles, and it was a brutal match, but it was a fun match. It was a really good match, and I really enjoyed watching it.
It was one of my favorites, and for that reason, it was built as a regular match of two people who've been in the ring,
Right.
kind of going toe to toe and being equal. But one's like she's more used to it because she's been doing that matches for a while. I haven't, but then I come back because I kind of remember what it's all about, and I have a lot of experience. And and what I'm really proud about this match, because it happened the WrestleMania weekend, but not in the WrestleMania area.
Right.
And there was like a bunch of articles saying the best women's match of the WrestleMania weekend did not happen on the West Coast. It was on the East Coast, and it was LuFisto versus Mickey Knuckles. Right. So yeah, I'm really proud about that match, because also my first death match since 2007.
No, it was a great match, and I implore everybody to watch it. I found it on YouTube. It's definitely worth the time of watching. One of my favorite matches I've seen from you this year, for sure. And you've had a lot of great matches this year.
I was blessed this year. Utami and Mickey, Casey Kirk, like Masha, Maki Ito. I love Maki. She's so cute.
I like Maki Ito. I like that match. That was a fun match too.
I didn't see it yet, but it felt fun. I was really happy to be there.
And my final question that I'd like to ask you, hopefully I'm not in focus here. You've been champion before, but it's been a little while.
It's been a while. Yes,
it's been a while. You've been in GCW recently. You just talked about you beating Jody Threat. You pinning Jody Threat. Is there a title you're looking at? Is there a title from a promotion saying, you know what, I want to go after that one?
Anyone. I want all the gold. Give me all the gold. It's been, like you say, it's been too long. I need some gold.
All right.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 championships. I'm ready, man. I want to go on a high note. Champion everywhere.
Definitely. I think that, 2022, I mean, 2022, last year, I feel like you had a great year. This year, I feel like you stepped it up even more, have an even better year. And, you're at this stage in your career, you're only just having more matches, facing better opponents. And I think it's only a matter of time for there'll be gold around your waist again.
I'd actually, I had a championship match not too long ago at C4 Wrestling in Ottawa against Kevin Blackwood. And there was interference from a girl called Ailey. But I do want my rematch because I would really love to be C4 World Champion. I've been the World Champion before. I want another one. Kevin Blackwood, I'm coming for you.
Listen, I would love to see that matchup again. And like I said, I think for people that are just now tuning in, or people that are longtime fans, I think they can kind of agree now that what you're doing right now should be respected more for your longevity in the business, for what you're doing, are you still competing at a high level, and that you're still you at the end of the day. Like you're not just trying to say certain things or do certain things in order to fit in. You're doing it your own way, and that should be more respected than anything.
Yeah, in the end of the day, I mean, I want to be able to look in the mirror and it's like, this is me and this is how I am. You don't like it, it's fine, but I'm not going to change because you don't like the way I am.
Right.
You mean, what would be the purpose of it anyway? No, I still go out there and I love what I do. And, I want more matches with Joshi wrestlers, like with Utami It's always a great challenge for me, and or Rina Yamashita. Love working with them. Love Joshi. I have so much respect for them, and yeah, I feel I can do more, and I don't know for how long. There's more time passed than what's left,
Right.
and I'm aware of that. But hopefully, once I'm done, once I feel I can't perform at 100%, I hope I can still be able to help as an agent, a coach, and build up those matches and work with the new generation. And don't take the bumps, and I'll tell them what to do.
Well, like I said, I feel like we're still seeing the best of you at this point, and we're going to keep seeing more. For people that's watching, sorry if I'm a little blurry, technical difficulties there, but LuFisto, I appreciate the time speaking with you. This has been so much fun. Speaking to a living legend that is still kicking ass and still taking names and had a title.
I hate legend. It's everywhere.
But you are a legend, and I feel like
I love the Legend of Zelda.
You like Zelda too?
Oh, that's how I learned to speak English. This and the Ninja Turtles.
Oh,
it's true.
LuFisto, I appreciate you so much. but it is important to say legend and to celebrate it, especially with we've had the recent tragedies that happened. Like instead of trying to go against and bully people for their careers or what they may have achieved, we need to really start setting the trend of celebrating what we have still around us and appreciating
Very
what is
true.
there.
Yeah,
and
one day you never know. The next day the person's not there anymore.
Right. And like I said, for you to come out and speak about your experience with AEW, you even on this platform to talk about dealing with chronic depression and what you've gone through and how you overcame that. And now we're about to see you face Kid Bandit at Effy's Big Gay Brunch on December 2nd. You are a living legend. You should be loved and appreciated while we still have you with us and for more years to come. I thank you so much for coming on here.
Thank you so much. That was lots of fun.
Thank you. Anything you want to say before we leave off? Any sponsors? Anybody you want to shout out?
I don't have sponsors, but if you feel like it, I would love to have sponsors. I need gear.
Listen.
No, seriously, just tune in Effy's Big Gay Brunch on Fight Plus, or just come and celebrate with us live. Support GCW. They have a show also on September 1st. And if you want to see more of me, just go on LuFisto.com. There's links to all my socials, pictures, merchandise, biography. If you can actually read more than 280 characters, you can read my biography and my resume. Everything's there. If you have questions also, there's a way to contact me. I do answer everybody.
And also, just throwing this out there. Swedish Fish. If you're looking for a sponsor,
Swedish Fish.
That is also Canadian. I feel like I have the present for you. I'm just throwing it out there, Swedish Fish. If you're watching, which I know you are, you have a perfect representative here from Canada. She's looking for a sponsor. Here we go now. LuFisto, I thank you so much for your time. Guys, tune in September 2nd on Fight TV for Fight TV Plus member for $7.99 a month, easy. And you can see all GCW, a bunch of other wrestling shows, and Effy's Big Gay Brunch September 2nd. Thank you, LuFisto, for your time.
Thank you. See you Saturday.
See you on Saturday.